Why? Because he lost the bet. Because he lost the bet. It's not my fault he can't tell the difference between two bows. I don't care if Thranduil is his daddy. Leggy gets nothing. Now quit calling me Tariel. Okay, maybe I should explain that, okay. Legolas came over and was immediately making fun of my bows, saying that they're low quality. I told him, yeah, no way you can shoot one of these. And then so he challenged me to a competition using those two bows. So he picks both of them up and tests their weight, and he picks the lowest weight one, the lightest weight one, should I say. And he couldn't tell the difference. The one that I used in the competition was 10 pounds, more than 10 pounds, heavier. And so I had the faster and more accurate shot, and he lost badly. And now, he's got Tariel complaining for him to me, saying I cheated. How could I have cheated? He was with me the whole time, and we were standing like 10 yards apart. Ugh. Elves. Well, you know what? How about, instead of me ranting on about how stupid Legolas is all day long, I can just teach you a little something about bows and arrows. Freaking bet me a Lorien broke. I don't even have one to bet. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this is my armory right here. This is my quiver with all of my best arrows. All of these are the heavier ones made out of aluminum and have the heads that you just screw on. These are the arrows that I have broken over the years. Well, actually, just a few months ago, actually, I ended up developing this really bad habit of hitting other arrows, and the knock at the end would break off. So, it got really frustrating, so I had to really lower the amount of arrows that I would shoot at a time. And some of these are okay, some of them aren't, and some I just put in here because they're too short for my big recurve right here. Now, this is my first bow. This is the one that I got when I was 16. It's about 8 to 12 pounds draw, and this is the one Legolas used in the competition, and he lost. But I actually know how to use it. Got a couple of nice hooks on the wall for hanging them up. And this is my recurve. This one is about 25, somewhere between 20 and 30 pounds. Yeah, it's a lot heavier, but it's actually easier to pull back when you have a shooting glove and when you have an arrow in it. And the best thing about this sort of bow is you're not meant to hold it back for very long. That's what compound bows are built for. With a compound, what you do is the pulleys at the end of the limbs, or whatever you call them, they hold the bowstring in place. They ease the pressure, so you can hold the string here however long you want before releasing it, and apparently it has a smoother shoot or something. But I always prefer these sort of bows because they're very simple, old-fashioned. It's just a string, 2 limbs, 1 handle, and that's it. No scopes, sights, or anything like that to overcomplicate things. With these, you just trust your instincts and your eyes. This is the only arm guard I've ever possessed that's actually comfortable. It slips on like a sock. The other kind of arm guard, which just velcros around on your wrist, it always gave me a really bad itch for some reason. They just weren't very comfortable. I don't know if that's the way it is for everyone who tries out this sort of arm guard, but I don't recommend keeping your arms bare when you're shooting a bow because the string will whip your arm when you release the arrow. Just goes right across, and it hurts. I haven't gotten any bruises or anything. It's only happened a couple of times, but you know, at least have your arm covered by something. And since it's like 31 degrees out, I'll be covered by a jacket, so my arm guard won't be necessary. This is my first shooting glove, made out of leather, obviously, which is meant to protect your hands from the bowstring, or at least the fingers that you're pulling it back with. And it was starting to wear out, so I got a new one. And as you can probably tell, the tips on this one are a little thicker. The fingertips on this one are a little thicker. And I seriously recommend shooting gloves over finger tabs. Because the thing that has always annoyed me about finger tabs is, like, have you ever seen any of those? It's like a little strip of leather. It looks kind of like a flattened out mitten or something with two holes in the side. You stick your fingers in those little holes and it covers your fingers from the bowstring. It can protect your fingers. It's really thick and really good, but that's also the thing that messed me up when I used it, because what would happen is it would be so stiff that I couldn't control my fingers that well, so it made it a little harder and messed up my accuracy a little bit. And plus, it's really easy to get your fingers stuck in the holes if it's too small. So when you have a shooting glove, it's way easier to control yourself that way because it's more flexible and still very durable. The hardest thing to learn in archery is to pick a good anchor point, which is where you're going to rest the bowstring when you pull it back. You got to make sure that it's the same every time if you find one that works. I mean, sometimes it takes just a little trial and error or a little experimenting, but overall, if you're just picking an anchor point and one that you can actually see through, then you need to make sure it's the same every time, which is really important for consistent shooting. Now, I've got my aluminum arrows in my recurve bow because these arrows are heavier and will shoot better with my heavier bow. This is the thing you need to keep in mind. If you have a heavy bow, you need heavy arrows because they will either not shoot right, it can just like shoot crooked or just glide, and I mean sometimes lighter arrows work, but it just depends on how light, really. If you want better results, then just go for the heavier arrows for the heavier bow, and the lighter arrows for the lighter bow. And this is an anchor point that I love to use. I just have my forefinger next to the corner of my mouth and hold the bowstring near my nose. When you release, don't just yank your arm back, just release your fingers. See that? That's what you want to do when you release it. Don't yank your hand back, because when the bow is heavy, then you're kind of just holding it there, your arm's under a bit of tension, but really just try and release your fingers without pulling your hand back, because just think of your fingers as like I don't know, like a trigger release. You just open your fingers and that's it. Though it's not as easy with a heavier bow. So that's one reason I suggest working your arms out a little. There's a bunch of different finger holds that you can use. There's 3 fingers with 1 above the arrow and 2 underneath. The most common one that I've seen is just 2 fingers, like this. But when I started out, I used to just use 4 fingers. But that was the time when I was using a hardware glove instead of a shooting glove, so all my fingers were protected. There is one finger hold that I've been experimenting with, and that's the reason that I'm using this bow, because it's easier on my joints to do it with this bow. Because with the heavier one, here, I'll show you. I've seen this finger hold a few times, and I tried it with my recurve, but your arm is turned just a little different, and when you pull it back, it adds a different pressure to a different part of your joint or something. So I'm trying it out with the lighter weight. That's a problem I have, is that sometimes depending on which way you hold the bowstring, which way you release it, it can make the string move in a different direction and send your arrows off course. Then I got better results. Yup. Went all the way to the left. I'm trying to figure out what the secret is. So I've seen a lot of accurate shooters do it like this. I'm trying to figure out how. Okay, I'll just shoot a couple more and then move on to something I actually know how to do. Okay, just bear with me here. I think I'm starting to get it. Nope, I'm not. When you're trying to find something good to shoot at, I recommend something like this. It's just a cardboard box that I shoved a bale of hay into. It was just a bale of hay and tied it to a metal cart, but the problem I had was that the tips at the ends of my arrows kept getting crushed when they flew through the hay and hit the metal. And plus the hay bale was kind of falling apart anyway, so I untied it and just dropped it in here. And then just spray painted the target, and look at all the damage I've done. But I don't recommend shooting at just an empty cardboard box, especially when you're using a heavy bow, because if you just shoot at a cardboard box, the arrow can fly all the way through, and a lot of times it can wreck the fletching, which is very important for an arrow to fly right. This stuff's not just for decoration, it really helps it go straight, it helps it fly. When you're pulling the arrow back, here's a few little tips that really help. Make sure your back is straight, and when you pull it back, try and put your shoulder blades together. And don't just pull the arrow like this. No, don't ever do that, because it just adds more pressure. Yeah, it just makes it a lot harder. When you're picking an anchor point, don't use your eye. Like, don't hold the arrow next to your eye. It doesn't work. You need to be able to see down the arrow shaft. And if you're holding the end of the arrow near your eye, you can't see down it. You can only see either behind it or to the side. And that's really gonna mess up your aim. So just aim somewhere lower, like hold it next to your jaw or down here or something. Just something that works, but I don't recommend using your eye. Yeah, and if you end up releasing it wrong and the bowstring hits the edge of your eye or something, that will do a lot of damage, especially with a heavy one like this. I'd like to see Thorin do that to a freaking wild deer. I hope you've learned a little something about bows and arrows today. And if you want to go out and try archery, I wish you all the best of luck. And as you can probably tell, it's a little heavier, a little harder with this bow. Freaking bet me a Lorian brooch. I don't even have one to bet. Oh, sorry. Okay, so right here are all my arrows. Okay, that was way awkward.
And hold the bowstring near my nose.
Well, this is the lighter weight one, so I didn't expect accuracy yet. Come on, it was on the tip of my tongue. Beat